So it's all about constant and never-ending improvement. No matter what level you attain, you want to continue to develop and improve yourself. So I'm going to go back to class 2 in just a few minutes when I'm done here. So I'd like to just catch up because I'm going to be very fast as much as possible. So I'll start by saying something that you don't need a resume. Now that sounds quite contradictory, right? You don't need a resume. And that's because what you need is a winning resume. You understand? And that's where you need to really pay attention because your resume counts a great deal. So what I'm going to just do in the next few minutes is just to take you through. I don't need to start telling you what the resume is about. You know what it is. So I'll just take you through steps, very short, concise steps for you to create a winning resume. All right, so the first and important thing is for you to understand the purpose of a resume. Listen, guys, a resume is not a confession because I come across a series of resumes when you want to recruit people, and then you see loads of things, and people tell you all manner of things, and then they tell you the story of their lives and all of that, and you're like, oh boy, this is not what I need here, because I'm actually dealing with loads of resumes that I need to review. And so, first of all, you need to understand that the most important purpose of your resume is to showcase your skills, your experiences, or your experience, and your education as concisely as possible. Are we together? So you don't need to start pouring too much information, or what they call this TMI. You don't need to pour so much information all out. The most important thing in all your pourings, let it be clear that your skills are showcased, your experience is very clear, and your education well stated, all right? But of course, even among those three, your skills and experience matter much more because there are times where you apply for certain positions that you don't officially have the paper education for, quote and unquote, right? And so I see a lot of people make that mistake. And they've seen maybe a particular post that requires you to be a communications consultant, for instance, or a communications coordinator. And you didn't go to school to study mass communication, or you didn't go to school to study corporate communication, but you have experience in it. You've done a lot of work regarding that. And so people still go ahead and put up their position in industrial chemistry, first of all. And you know, it's a no-no more or less. By the time you do your arrangement, your skills should come first, your experience next. Or your experience even means your relevant experience now, not just old experiences, and then your education next. The next important thing in creating a winning resume is for you to know what a winning resume looks like, okay? So you can't create what you don't even know. Don't bother looking at the details of that, and I'm not saying this is the standards or these are the standards more or less. I'm just a pictorial for you to know that you need to know what a winning resume looks like, okay? And I'm going to show you the next few slides what are the important things that make up a winning resume. So first, the winning components one is the presentation. Can I hear everybody echo that? Presentation. Presentation. Thank you very much. So what's the presentation of your CV? Now, generally, there are certain elements, and if you like what I do, I review CVs professionally, and then there are some certain tools you use to review CVs online. And one of the most important thing, of course, is the presentation of your resume, okay? Now, number of pages, as a rule of thumb, limits your resume to 2 pages, no matter what you do. Are we together? Limits what? 2 pages. Very rare occasionally, you can go to 3, but it's very advisable that you limit your resume to 2 pages, sometimes just 1 page. And one of the things it does for you, is that when a resource person or a human resource person or a recruiter sees your resume as concise as possible, it creates the impression that you know how to communicate very excellently and you know how to get straight to the point. And that's an advantage. You understand? So pages, do as much as possible to limit your pages to 2. Next important thing is the essential sections. And we spoke about that a little bit earlier on. The most important thing is really a little personal profile, your skills, right? The skills and competencies, then your experience, relevant experience, and then your education. Before you now start talking about all those other things, people want to put all things like, okay, we're going to get to that eventually, but those essential sessions are the most critical things, okay? Then spell check, and this is a big issue. We review CVs a lot of times, I review CVs a lot of times, and someone says, I pay attention to details. And in that same CV, you're seeing grammatical errors, you're seeing spelling errors, you understand? And you're wondering, what sort of details are you paying attention to, for crying out loud? You know, so it's very important for you to, and you know, the challenge with this is that except you're a very conscientious person, sometimes you need to have people read your resume for you, because there are errors that you would not by yourself identify. So it's very important for you to do that. Now, the next winning component of a winning resume is the impact. Can I hear everybody echo that? Impact. You can see the punch, impact, right there. Now, winning resumes have three things about them. They are action-oriented, you can see that. They're very specific, and they avoid overusage or overuse of certain words. Now, let's talk about being action-oriented. There are certain words that you, for instance, every time, typically, when people write their resumes, all right, they put under their experiences, they have bullet points, right? Now, there's something we call action or success verbs. There is a way you can say for instance, you say that, okay, let's assume you were an admin officer in a particular organization, right? And then you say part of your responsibilities is that you ensure that daily operations go well, right? Fine. Now, there's a way you can, some people say, for instance, now, I provide support for daily operations. At the very professional level, when you say things like provide support, okay, fine, it's okay you provide support, but provide support, the verb provide is not even as strong as certain kinds of verbs, for instance, that say things like ensure, you get, or led, you understand, led a team, or you manage the process, you understand, or you designed, or you created. Do you get what I'm trying to say here? So your CV needs to be action-oriented. In other words, a resume needs to be action-oriented. So when you're giving expressions about your work experience or the things you've done, don't just present yourself as a doer, present yourself as an achiever. I think I need to say that again. Don't present yourself as a doer, present yourself as what? As an achiever, because that's what differentiates. Everybody does things, but not everybody achieves things a lot. Do you understand the picture? So being action-oriented matters a great deal. Then the next thing is specifics. So for instance, now, let's say you led a team to handle a particular project, or you did something in your office. We want to know how that translates into measurable results. You understand? So let's say you led a team. Was it a team of 8 or a team of 20? Do you understand? And how did that translate into specific results? So maybe in doing that, you were able to reduce the cost of operation by 50% or by 30%, or you're able to improve performance of your teammates by 70% because of an initiative that you introduced. You understand there? So specifics are very important. Don't just leave things there. There ought to be measurable elements in your resume. And the third thing is overusage. People use this word manage a lot. Manage. I manage, I manage, I manage. Almost every CV, somebody is managing something. And even in that particular resume, people use the word manage like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times. Excuse me? How creative can you get? You understand? And this is very important because what it means is that it gets boring, just boring. Like, okay, this person is just one way. It's the way to test your creativity and your ability to communicate excellently. Do you understand? Because, and by the way, your resume is a communication tool, right? You know that? That is what it's all about. You're communicating something. So impact-wise, that's very important. And winning component 3, competencies. There are certain things about you that your prospective employers want to see that you've acquired over time. Certain competencies, what you're able to do. So the place of your analytical skills, for instance, analytical skills, leadership qualities, and ability to communicate. These are competencies that you need to find ways to include in your resume anytime you're sending it out. Are you following me here? So your analytical skills, for instance, how analytical are you? Are you able to think critically? Are you able to how logical are you in your thinking? You have to find ways to ensure that you present that in your resume. And communication skills as well. And then, of course, your leadership skills. And this is very important because people want people who can take initiative on the job, right? They want people who can, not just someone that just comes out. So I encourage you, for instance, that if you've done anything called leadership at any point in time, if you were a senior prefect, sometimes you need to include that. If you're the leader of a team, of a football team or a club, you need to include that in your resume. It just shows that you are able, because a lot of times, 15% of your, if you section what gets you employed sometimes into 100%, a lot is not all about your technical competence. Are you together here? A lot has to do with your interpersonal skills like your communication ability, your leadership skills, and those things that are very important. Okay, so number 3. Before I get on number 3, let's start again from number 1. So we're very quick. Number 1, the first point was what? You need to understand the purpose of a resume. Number 2 was that what? You need to know what a a winning resume looks like, and we went ahead to highlight the components of a winning resume, right? 3 components. First, presentation. Second, what? Impact. And the third is what? Competence. Thank you very much. You guys are winners already. All right. So third thing, remove irrelevancies. And I just got this quote straight because it just described what I want to talk about. Sometimes the best gain is to lose. Remove irrelevancies. Irrelevancies out. So I see people a lot of times. For instance, now, you have not more than 2 pages. And then people use half of a page describing their local state of origin, their local government area, when they were born, their religious status, marital status, whether they were single or married or gay or any of those things. I mean, seriously, you've wasted space already and time. Now, there are times where it's even to your advantage if you are silent about some of those things. For instance, your age. It's to your advantage. Sometimes you can have so much qualities in you that all that is required is for the door to open for you to step in, and they will throw all the inhibitions about age aside. But the moment you if your age is disadvantaged now, for example, you put that forward, you might not even get called for the interview. Do you understand here? So a lot of these things you need to be silent about. Your gender, all those things, don't worry about that. When you step up, they see. The important thing is that they want to be able to measure your capacity, your ability, your skills, your competencies in handling the role that we're trying to hire for. And that's what you should focus on, all right? So all those extra things, don't bother about them, remove them, and you are good. Number 4, customize. Customize, customize, customize. I mean, it makes a lot of sense if you are going to send out your resume to a specific job opening and you take time out to look at your resume again and tailor it, are we here, to the opening or the requirements for that opening. And tailoring doesn't mean that you are saying what you cannot do. It simply means that sometimes you are rearranging some of your skills and competencies to emphasize or prioritize the most important things. Do you understand here? So let's say, for instance, now you want to apply for an opening that has to do with maybe in an NGO. And in the NGO, the particular opening has a lot to do with program management, or let's even say conducting advocacy, okay? And you've had some measure of experience in that. Now, it will be smart for you to make sure that that skill that relates to that particular opening comes first among your skill set lists. Are we together? So that the very first thing they see is those particular things that matter. You understand? The advocacy that you can do, the online interventions that you can do, online communication ability. You understand what I'm trying to say here? And those things. So instead of putting it at the very tail end or you just leave it that way, do you get that? So this is very important in keeping and in making your resume win. So the moment at the first glance, within the first 5 seconds that a potential recruiter sees your resume, he already sees what he needs to, what he really wants, and doesn't start looking all over to get it. Number 5, online portfolio. And people neglect this a lot. Listen, I was somewhere yesterday and then someone said something so important. He said, you are what people read about you. You're not what you think you are. You are your online presence. All right? You are your online presence. You are your online presence. I can't say that over and over and over again. You are your online presence. So some of you have Facebook accounts, but all you do on Facebook accounts is to post people that twerk. God help you. So, and the truth is that is where people go for information these days. Are we together here? That's where we go for information. That's where we go to your Twitter handle, we go to your Facebook account. If you have a blog, we go there. We want to see your internet footprint. We want to understand what you do outside the so-called formal environment, because those are important things to us. We want to know whether the kind of person that you will yab everybody on Twitter. And imagine you're working with us, you know what I'm trying to say here? You saw the image of our organization. People have lost their jobs for making comments on Twitter that they shouldn't make. Are we together? So your online portfolio is very important. Now, 2 things. You don't have to be reactive about it. You can be deliberate. You can work on your online presence deliberately, starting from now. Going back there, you see some people, like a friend of mine was making a jest on Facebook the other day. Some people will say that working at self-employed. Have you seen those things on Facebook, man? Working at self-employed, right? Yeah. So former staff at self-employed. Yeah. Does that make any sense? And they have it there. For crying out loud, that's stupid, really. You should be deliberate about your online presence. So sometimes you even go, if you like to write certain things, any progress that you do or that you have at the course of your work at any point, document them online, because that is where people are going to go to. If people Google your name, for instance, what pops up? Do you understand that? You need to go back and even do that for yourself. Google your name. What pops up? Well, Facebook will help you, at least, at the very least, your name will come up because of Facebook, if nothing else. You understand that? But beyond that, you need to create some presence deliberately because that's what we're going to go to for information. So don't just use these things for fun and for play. People become millionaires using these tools. You understand? All right. Number 6, cover letter or letter recommendations. Now, some people will argue that you don't need cover letters. Okay? And yeah, you can pass because these days, people recommend much more that you use letters of recommendation as against cover letters. And the reason why they say that is because cover letters, it is still you talking about yourself, right? But letter of recommendation usually comes from someone who you had served under, someone you worked with. You understand here? And so they appear to carry more weight. But there are times that your cover letter carries a lot of weight too, particularly if it is requested for. And there are times where the fact that you submit a cover letter stands you out from others who don't even do that. Are we here? And the advantage of I think the reason why there's been arguments against cover letters is because the content, most of the time, people just regurgitate what they have on their resumes in cover letters. No, that's not what we want to know. What we want to know in your cover letter is what sort of connection do you have with the organization you're trying to apply to? How did you get to know about the opening? What is your motivation? What is your passion? What is your interest? What is the reason why you're applying for this? And how do you demonstrate your fit to the opening that we're calling for? For instance, now, if you worked on a project before, that information and knowledge from that project could serve as an advantage to the opening you're trying to apply for. Now, you cannot really state that so much in your CV because you'll be able to document details in your resume as well. But your cover letter is supposed to help you do that. You can state clearly how that you've worked on a similar project. And even if you have not worked on a similar project, it's about communication. You can always talk your way around things. You understand that? And that's very important. So yeah, cover letters are very critical. If you cannot do a cover letter, get a letter of recommendation, but get a cover letter. It also works well for you. And finally, contract a resume writer or editor. So just in case all these things is too much grammar for you, and then you're bothered and worried and all of that, there are many people who do this professionally. You can contract them. You can check online. There are so many CV editors, so many CV writers. Well, maybe not too many in this climate or in this part of the world, but we have certain people who do this thing professionally, and they can help you work. You know, I was going to write CV professionally for a lady once, and I told her, okay, I'm not going to charge you for this, but we're going to sit down and do this together, provided you have the time. She said she had time. So I said, okay, we're going to work on your resume, and it's going to take us about 2 to 3 hours to get this done. She was like, what? It's not just about just to edit. I said, okay, let's start. So we started. And when we got into the depth, it was like, oh my God. So we went to the extent of, we have to cross every I, cross everything, dot every I, make sure that there's no error or mistake whatsoever. To get to the very root of it all and present her in the best way possible. So this person was, for instance, was a front desk officer. So he says, okay, she just attends to clients, for crying out loud. There's a lot more that you can say than just say, I attend to clients. Rather than say I attend to clients, how about because of managed correspondence? How about saying things like improving the image of your organization by paying close attention to clients? Do you understand there? These are the things that professional editors will do for you that you probably won't be able to do for yourself. All right, that's it. So let's do a recap, and we're going to read this together. So first thing to creating a winning resume is to do what? Number 2 is what? And that's components. Number 3 is what? Number 4, number 5, number 6, and the final one. All right, so I believe with all these, you guys should be able to, by yourself, at the very worst case, a CV editor. But then the next CV you're sending out should be a winning one. One thing you should do for yourselves tonight is go back, at least the very important thing, your online portfolio, okay? Start making a difference about that from today. And I wish you all the very best.